And now we're going to go on to the state representatives race. It'll be Scott Turner and Jim Pruitt. And Scott, you're up first.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I was driving over here early this morning from Collin County. I live in Frisco, and every time I get an opportunity to drive over to Rockwall County, it's such a pleasure for me. But particularly this morning, when I was driving over and the sun was coming over the lake, I looked and I said, you know what, I'm so blessed to have this opportunity to come. A young man such as me, from the background which I came from, a broken home, abusive home. You got a young kid. I'm a fourth generation Texas, born and raised here, but here I am standing before you all. And I thought to myself this morning, man, this is not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a blip on the radar screen. A kid who society and the world says, man, you'll never make it. Amen. A young black kid coming from a broken, abusive home. No lineage, no heritage or political anything in my life. So I thank God today that I'm able to stand before you all. And thank you, Rockwall, for being so welcoming to me and kind to me as I've been coming over here. And my parents, and I just told you, I came from a broken home, but my parents are two of the hardest working people that I've ever known in my life. My father, for most of my life, had 2 jobs. And he would go to work in the day, and then at night, he and I would go and we would clean up buildings. So I've been cleaning toilets for a long time since I was a little boy. So I'm not afraid to clean up. But my mother's also a very hard-working woman. And they instilled in me a work ethic like no other. And that's why I've had on the campaign trail, many people say, man, you worked so hard on the campaign. Well, this is serious to me. Amen. And I'm not taking this for granted. Hard work is what I know. If you want to do something effectively, you work. My parents worked in order to provide for me and my brothers and my sisters. We didn't depend upon the government or depend upon handouts. So this is something that has been instilled in me from a very, very young age. I remember one day I was at football practice. I went to J.J. Pierce High School in Richardson. That's where I grew up. And my father came and he picked me up from football practice that day. And that was kind of unusual because my dad was usually working and he never came to the school and picked me up. I usually got a ride home. And when my dad showed up, I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm about to take you to work. And I said, well, I don't have a job. He said, well, you do now. And he took me to Spring Creek Barbecue. Anybody ever been to Spring Creek Barbecue? Right there on 75? And my dad and the manager came and they handed me these 2 white aprons, one for me, one for my father, the plastic kind, the kind you can get wet and throw away. And so they said, you are the new dishwasher for Spring Creek Barbecue. I said, cool, I'm a good athlete. I can handle this. This is no big deal. When my father showed me how to do it, he said, you got to have a system. You got to stack your plates and your cups and your silverware. And when the bus boys bring it in, you got to be quick and efficient. So he showed me. Well, it was around about 4:30, 5 o'clock when he did that. So when my turn came, my father left. It was about 6 o'clock. Everybody in Dallas-Fort Worth was at Spring Creek. At about 6:30, everybody left at one time. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant, bussing tables or washing dishes, you understand that when everybody leaves at one time, that is hectic on the dishwasher. Have you ever walked into a restaurant and all the tables are full? Well, the guy in the back, he's going to have to wash those dishes. So I began to get behind. And I began to get frustrated and panic and say, man, this is hard. This is something I've never done. This is uncomfortable for me. And I left the dishwashing station and went to the phone and called my father. I said, look here, man, come get me. I'm a star athlete. I'm not washing dishes. We already clean buildings at night. What do you want me to do? And my father said, listen, you will never quit. Not today, not ever. Amen. And he hung up. And I thank the Lord that my daddy hung up on me that day. Because from that day forward, I've never quit anything in my life. And so I'm grateful to him and my mother for instilling that work ethic in me. There's another thing my parents instilled in me, and that is to have an unwavering faith in the Lord. And that's how I've lived my life, to have principled conviction, unwavering faith, and a hard work ethic. It's not rocket science, it's just something very simple, but life-changing to me. When I graduated J.J. Pierce High School, I received the athletic academic scholarship to the University of Illinois in Champaign, Illinois. And a lot of people say, well, why did you leave Texas? You were being recruited by all the schools in Texas. Why did you leave to go to Illinois? Well, one, I know the Lord meant for me to meet my wife, Robin, of 16 years nearly, at Illinois. She was there waiting on me. But I went to Illinois because they allowed me to run track and to play football. And so I was a two-sport athlete in college, and I graduated in speech communications. And after leaving the University of Illinois, they have this thing called the NFL, National Football League, which, by the way, stands for not for long, for those of you that are here. And in 1995, I was preparing for the National Football League, and they have this thing called the NFL Combine. Anybody familiar with that? The NFL Combine is in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's where they invite all of the potential NFL athletes to come and to kind of show your stuff, how fast you are, how strong you are, how smart you are. You got to take an IQ test. You can't be a dummy and play with the NFL. Mike Shanahan has 300 plays for his offense, and so you have to have some kind of intellectual ability to play in the NFL. So the Combine you have to be invited to. And every kid that has a dream of going to the NFL wants to go to the Combine because this is where you can get your shine on. This is where you can tell them how good you are. Well, there's 1 million college athletes that play football and only 300 get an invitation. I was a starter at the University of Illinois for 1 year on the defensive team. We had the #1 defense in the country. I knew I was going to get an invitation to Combine. Well, long story short, I never got invited. People said it'll never happen. When I was 10 years old, my father walked out of our house. I told my mom I was going to the NFL. It was a dream that I had since I was a little boy. Well, now I'm 23. No invitation to the Combine, no invitation to any all-star games, and people saying, this is not going to happen for you. You'll never make it. You're too small. You're only 5'9". You weigh 172 pounds. The NFL didn't even invite you to the Combine. Well, what everybody was saying, I began to reflect back on my father and me cleaning those buildings and my mama taking me to church and laying on my knees and my face before the Lord and praying as a young boy as I went through trials and tribulation, understanding I'm not really worried about what man says. Amen. And so as men started saying no, I began to say yes and start running stadium steps every day. Well, the NFL came to my school and they said, well, if you really want to go, we'll let you run. And for all the football men in here, we had to run the 40. And I'm going to keep this short. I ran a 4.24 in the 40. It was the fastest time in the country at that time. And guess what? Things changed. They said, where have you been? And I said, well, I've been here the whole time. You never sent my invitation. Why did I tell you that? Because I've had many opportunities in my life to throw in the towel. I've had many opportunities in my life to quit. I've had many opportunities in my life to kind of gel in to society and be a chameleon of my atmosphere, of what people said, of what people did. But I've always been one to stand on my own 2 feet and do what's right and do what I know is the right thing to do. Not because it's popular, but because it's right. Amen. And to follow my dream. And you know what? I have the privilege today of leading other NFL players as a player advisor on the business of football, not just being successful, but being significant in life. Young people all around the country. I have a great platform as a minister and a pastor and a speaker to go around encouraging young people just like me, who will be standing before you just like me one day to say, you know, it doesn't matter what people says, you can do it. Doesn't matter what the world says, you can do it. Doesn't matter what society says, you can do it. Having said that, we are so complacent in America today. We think, well, the statistics say it should be this way. The norm says it should be this way. The establishment says it should be this way. This is the person. This is the one. Well, I disagree. Amen. Doesn't mean that it's right for America. Doesn't mean that it's right for Texas. We are at a crossroad in this country. Can I get a witness? Amen. Not just in this country, but in Texas. There's a great battle that's going on. We have a federal government that's encroaching on the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy as individuals, as families, as business owners. We know how to govern ourselves. We know how to govern our own state. This is Texas, the best state in the country. And we have a federal government that wants to encroach on our liberties and freedom. We have great business environment in Texas. because we have low taxes and fair regulation, but that's being threatened every day. The margin tax for business is bad. Any business owner in here would agree with me. Small business is what creates jobs. Create jobs moves the economy. Margin tax is bad for business. It's being threatened day by day. We have not a revenue problem. We do have a spending problem. Amen. Our education system, public education system, I am a product of that. I support that. I came out of public education. That's what gave me an opportunity to get an academic athletic scholarship to Illinois. But you know what? Our education system needs to be fixed. It needs to be reformed. Throwing more money at a broken system does not mean that our kids are going to have a quality education. Amen. We have education in this state. It's about $11,000, give or take, per student to educate them. But only a portion of that money is gone towards instructional activity, toward classroom activity. Why is that? Where's the other money going? We need to ask the hard question. We need to take inventory of the agencies that we have. Is the money that's being appropriated for this agency, is it being used for that intended purpose? And if not, why? That's how I live my personal life. I take inventory of my personal life, my finances, my marriage, my ministry, my business. Take inventory. What's causing us to lose? What's causing us to gain? Is this the intended purpose for which I said it was? Am I doing that? If not, fix it. We could do the same thing in government. Amen. We have to have like-minded people working together. Yes, we do. We need conservative, principled, conviction people working together. Yes, we do. Amen. Immigration, same way. We need to secure our borders. That's right. Amen. This is Texas. This is America. But the thing about it, it's not just people coming from the south. They're coming from the north too. They're not just coming from Mexico. They're coming from all around the world. And in Texas, we can work with the federal government and property owners to secure our border. Amen. To save billions of dollars a year. As I close, as I think about my life as an individual, and I think about my family, my ministry, companies, the software business we have, I'm content personally in my business and in my life. God has allowed me to do a lot of things in my life, and I'm grateful. I've seen a lot of hard times and tribulation. But one thing about it, I'm not satisfied with what's going on in our country. I'm not satisfied with our leadership, not satisfied that the moral fiber of this country is disintegrating day by day and being challenged day by day. We need people to stand up and fight for our conservative principles. Amen. We need people to step up and say, you know what, though I'm comfortable, though I'm content in my own life, I'm not satisfied with the generation that's coming behind me, your children, my children, and their children. And that's why my wife and I, after a couple years of praying and seeking godly counsel, that's why I'm standing before you today. Because I'm willing and able to do something. We don't need just more politicians. Amen. Who possess political prowess or astuteness. Yes, we have to have the ability to legislate and the procedures and the policy. Yes, we do. And we have to know our issues. But more so than that, we need people who possess a heart for service. People who possess a true heart for people. People who care not just about their own interests, but the interests of others. Willing to lay their life down. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm willing and very able. And that's why I'm standing before you today. We need socially conservative, fiscally conservative, principled, conviction people running our country. But more importantly, running the great state of Texas. We need servant leaders. People who are willing to lay their life down. And I want to say to you, those of you who may not be running for office, but those of you who undergird us who are, be very careful when you vote. Amen. The proof has to be in the pudding. A lot of people can stand behind a podium and a lectern and speak to you the things that they want you to hear. But in the NFL, we had this thing called film. And that film was ran every Monday morning. And it gave an account of what you did on Sunday. And guess what? The film don't lie. And I would encourage you to look at the lives of all of us that are running, myself included. And look at the film of our life and our experiences. not just by what we say, but by our actions. America depends on you doing that.
Amen.
Rockwall depends on you doing that. Texas depends on it. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. Thank you.